Right, so this week's Corrie then. Tonight's Coronation Street. We've just watching this for 3 hours on the trot, and
it wasn't 3 hours because we didn't have adverts.
We didn't have adverts, a bit less than 3 hours.
Highly recommend getting ITV Hub, even though that's just playing into their hands.
ITV Hub Plus.
Yes,
isn't it?
that's right.
Hashtag not an ad, but it was very useful because we saw not an ad today.
Can I just say hashtag not an ad? What the hell was all that Spotify stuff? Surely that's a sponsorship. Surely it is. They don't even have Google and Facebook in Weatherfield, but they've got Spotify.
No, remember they talk about Google and Facebook, they just don't show it. So I'm sure if we'd been able to see Todd catching off of Billy's Spotify account, it would have been called Spotify or something. To
be fair, Spotify probably would be not too keen on the whole sharing
each other's accounts.
Although you could definitely have told if it was a sponsored account, a sponsored thing, if Billy had said, mind you, it's really great that you can have a friends and family account where you spend, I don't know, what is it, $19.99 and up to 4 family members.
Did you know you can also listen to podcasts on Spotify?
You can listen to Conversation Street. Yeah. But you don't have to pay for Spotify to listen to Conversation Street on there. It's free.
Right, so we've got 6 storylines to start off, and I can't even talk. One of the downsides of these stories just appearing, this evening, has been I haven't had the usual couple of days to come up with storyline titles for these. So this Nina one, I don't even know.
I'm going to call it Nina Regina.
Nina Regina?
Yeah, she's the Queen.
Okay.
I know you're not. That's not how you say that is in a vagina, but
I think Nina is having a bit of a breakdown, a bit of an emergency. So maybe we should call it Nina. The ambulance is going to take her away.
She's great.
High Summer is next. She's high on energy drink, unbranded energy. Oh no, it did get a name
Dino?
actually, didn't it? Something like that.
Is it made of petrol?
Billy doesn't like them. He doesn't approve.
He's fine
about shooting up heroin in the church, but crack open a can of energy drink, and it's no way, thank you, missus.
I love how also I've been making fun of Summer and Asher for being a pair of nerdy squares, which I feel entitled to because I was a nerdy square when I was at school. But it was just so funny watching her apologise to her dad, the vicar, for drinking an energy drink. It's like, oh, Billy, man, she was smoking spice a few years ago. Can you not give her a break on the energy drinks?
I know.
Mind you, they both seem to have had the same effect on her. Yeah. She just passes out. If she has anything stronger than a coffee, she's like, she's collapsed on the sofa.
Lightweight.
Bless her.
We've got I've written the Leanne of Duty story. It used to be called that. I don't know what it's called now. But Leanne is back. She's decided I can't be bothered to hide out anymore. I'm back on the street. And
oh dear, I just got shot.
Almost got shot. We had a bit of the Rutting Ties story, which I found endlessly entertaining this week. It was just kind of more of a side story this week, wasn't it? But
the gift that keeps on giving.
It really, really was. And then we had the Gemma story. I do have a storyline title for this. It's called A Bit of a Cock-Up. Because they're getting things...
Cochlear.
Operation. Yeah. So, should Ballard have an implant? It does look better.
I was really interested that they brought this out. I wasn't expecting them to go down this route, but this is what I said.
5 stories time before we talk about it.
No, but this is what I was saying last week about deaf culture. And they actually did go there, which I thought was really interesting. Yes, I was even going to say last week, which I didn't say, because I didn't know if it would be controversial or not, but I do know that some deaf people don't want any kind of... Well, did I say it? I can't remember. They don't want any kind of medical intervention whatsoever to help... I don't know, to change the way that deaf people perceive things. So they wouldn't, like, some deaf people would say that that's actually bad thing, and some of them get quite upset at the idea that you even would consider it. So
no, it's interesting when they're showed a nice serious side to Gemma as well.
It is kind of, if you try to sort of eradicate deafness, you're eradicating deaf culture, which sounds incredibly sinister and very sad. So you can understand the perspective. But I don't think they went too far into it. I mean, we had Freda, but anyway, sorry.
Yes, we did. We had Freda, we had Tommy O, and we had Gaddis this week.
I know.
It
was like the reunion.
Comeback special, it was, wasn't it?
It was the Friends reunion of Coronation Street minor characters.
And then
where's what's his face? Everyone hates him. What's the name?
I don't know.
Peter Rabbit.
James Corden.
Yeah, where's James Corden to come and annoy everybody with his presence inexplicably?
Well, not only did we have a bit of summer this week, Gemma, finally our last storyline of the week is winter into Devindra, which was on Monday's episode. Seems like so long ago now. It's only about 4 hours ago we watched that. So you wanted to Bagsy the Nina story this week, didn't you?
Nina
so
Regina.
What has been going on with Nina? Were we going to record? Were we calling the episodes after the days that they will be broadcast, or we call them first episode, second episode, third episode? Haven't even discussed this. It's very important.
Haven't. How have you written? You've written.
I've written the days.
Well, we can do both.
Okay.
We're flexible, aren't we?
So what happened on Monday? In fact, it's happening right now as we're recording this.
At the moment, it is actually, isn't it? Right, so Monday, poor Nina, she has been bladdered in this alleyway, in Villain's Alley. She wakes up, there's bottles all over the place, she's hungover, she's been cold in sleeping in the rubbish, and she hobbles out into the street. And she's at the cafe, and Roy's telling her all of his hangover remedies.
Like a banana.
Have a banana, Nina, Nana.
But don't draw one, because it might start looking a little bit phallic, as we learned from him last week. He's got so many... Do you remember that?
What? Roy said don't draw bananas because they look like a penis?
Yes. He said that. You weren't listening.
No, I wasn't.
He said he did some still life once.
Oh, okay.
And it got a bit rude.
Right, okay. Alright, well, it depends on how you arrange the fruit, doesn't it, Roy?
Yeah, if you put a couple of oranges at the base
you're
of it,
asking
just asking for trouble.
She says, I stayed at a mate's, and he's trying to get her to carry on with her comic, but she rips it up and says it's rubbish, just like her life.
I've written comic here, but I think that we're probably not supposed to call it that.
What are we supposed to call it?
Graphical novel.
It's not a graphical novel, it's called a graphic novel.
A manga. Anyway, yeah.
The definition of manga is...
Oh, never mind.
Controversial at best. She's just mad and having a tantrum, and it's again reminds me of the idea that you can just do the steps and get yourself out of grief, and it's not always that simple. And to be sensible and to follow all the advice and everything. Sometimes people just don't want to do that, and you got to respect the process of just because she's a level-headed, switched-on kind of a person doesn't mean that she can't just let everything go. So anyway, he tapes the comic up, and Ashes comes in, and they're talking about what this is going to lead to and how she feels guilty and stuff. And they agree that she probably was not going to be up for counselling. And Asher wants
Toya's just like, no. And we're mates and everything.
She almost got up off the sofa for 5 minutes, but no. So Asher wants to look at the comics, and again, I can't believe this again, that he lets her have the comics. So Asher takes photos and puts them on Instagram, and Ardy wonders whether this is how the attack really went down, and this is why Asher puts it online, so that she can reach out to people with similar experiences. And in a way, isn't this kind of what Coronation Street did, where they made art out of a real life experience?
Yeah, good point. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it is fair to sort of be angry and say that's not your story to share. It's an interesting thing to think about, because Sophie, the person who the story is actually based on, has no input into any of this. She can't say whether she wanted this to happen or not. We don't know. We can only assume, because her mother's involved in the charity, that this is something that she would have wanted. But it's just interesting to think about victims who can't tell you what they want. So Amy comes and says to Nina, I like your comic, by the way, because Ash has put it on Instagram, and Nina's shouting at Roy saying, oh great, I told you yet again, you didn't listen to me again, you crossed my boundaries, I said I didn't want anyone to see it. So she goes round to number 7 and has a go at Ash, and she says, oh, did it get many likes, did it get many lols?
Someone must have given it a lol, surely.
Someone's like,
lol.
Lol. And what did Alina gave it a crimble or whatever. Did she have no more? She gave it a YOLO. It's like, yeah, I know, and he's dead now, so that's insensitive. So anyway, she says, I was just trying to help. There's been lots of lovely comments. And Nina says, massive fail. Again, another thing for Alina's wall. And tells her to stay away from her in future. So She next goes around to the cabin, not the cabin,
Corner shop,
and she wants to buy some vodka. And Evelyn's saying, you can't just drown your sorrows. I'm not going to sell you anything. Oh no, she's already given her this lecture, hasn't she? Gave it to her last week. And we think that maybe Nina, I can't remember whether she stole vodka or if you saw her doing it. But
when last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that she probably did. I can't remember whether we clocked that last week or not, but she tried to steal some again today, didn't she? And she was caught by Carla. I thought that was a really nice scene with her and Evelyn, actually. It reminded me a bit of after Sinead died and Evelyn was seemed to give the most genuine offer of sympathy to Daniel, like saying, I'm so sorry for your loss. And it felt like she really believed it. And she said the same about Seb today to Nina. It was very, very nice.
So, Carla's there, and she sees her doing it, and they kind of, but really before Nina can say anything, Evelyn's caught her as well, and Carla's asking Evelyn to let her off, and she lets her go eventually, and then Carla chats with Nina in the cafe, and this is another funny bit where she says, "Oh, I lost my boyfriend or my fiance." He was killed, and Nina says, "What happened?" And Carla's like, "Oh, it was on a night out," and it's like, it was more than that, though, wasn't it?
Long
there
story.
was
It involved Tony Gordon
she could have
mask,
said,
a paintballing match.
It's a long story, but she didn't. She just said it was a night out.
I think this week we'll put the Liam Connor character profile up on YouTube.
Yes.
Just for anyone who wants to know more about that.
If you want to know the story of the big,
true story
the big
of
night
Liam
out.
Connor.
So Nina doesn't really want to hear about this, and Carla says, if you bury your grief, it'll find a way to drag you back under. And Nina just storms off. She sees Summer in the street later and says, "Let's come out on the town, yesterday was a laugh." And Summer's like, "No, I can't."
Summer's like, "Not really, you get bladdered and passed out on the sofa."
Nina says, Summer says, "You should really go home." And then Nina sees Daisy is all glammed up, with double glamming, and going off to the bistro, so she invites herself along with that.
Yeah, Daisy's supposed to have a kind of semi-date there, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And have a couple of friends over, but then one of them ends up pulling out, so Nina's the third wheel.
She's getting completely drunk in the bistro, and the guy that Daisy was kind of on a date with wasn't really happy. Daisy's just quite sympathetic, and you said earlier that you thought she was really kind of a decent character this week.
I did. This was Daisy's best week ever,
yeah.
I think. It showed me more
likeability.
human side. Yeah, for human side. I know that she's supposed to be a massive cowy bitch.
I don't mind her being a cowy bitch.
I don't mind all the time, but that's literally all she's been. It was nice to see her talking about something that didn't involve slagging off Johnny.
Scheming.
And it showed that she's got a bit of heart to her.
Yeah.
More of this, please. If they can just touch on that a little bit more with her, then I will accept her with open arms come the 19th of July now.
This is the thing I really like about sort of womankind, is that Daisy doesn't really know Nina from Adam, but she's still supporting her and helping her and trying to protect her, even though she doesn't really, because...
Well, no, I mean, Nina, does she ever even go into the Rover? So she was there with her snake bite on Wednesday.
But you see what I mean? Like Nina, like she genuinely cares about her, and just because they're both women.
Yeah, and she knows that she's, just been through a horrific experience of a boyfriend getting
But, there's
to
definitely
death.
a code between women and on nights out, even if you don't know, even if you don't know them at all, even. But anyway, Nina's stumbling down the street with Daisy later. Roy rescues her, but then she just hails a taxi and gets into it and goes off down to town. So on Thursday, she comes home the next morning. She doesn't want to listen to Roy. So this is Thursday, aka episode 2, aka actually just the day after the day that we saw. So does the next day follow on from this one? Because the next day after that is definitely Sunday, because it's Father's Day.
Let's not think about it.
No wonder they all look so young on Coronation Street. They sort of have 3 days for every 7 of ours. They age in dog years. So she's not interested in Roy being worried about her. Then she goes to the factory for her presentation.
Yeah, so she's got some pitch, hasn't she? She's designed some more knickknacks, and she wants to...
It's not knickknacks, it's knickers. Knickknacks and
Under
ornaments.
crackers or crisps. Nice and spicy.
Oh, I love a nice spicy knick-knack. Do they still sell them?
Yeah.
Oh, this was baffling to me because I didn't think she was a proper employer. I thought she was like a contractor who
Yeah, I think that's
she's like
true.
a freelancer, right?
Yeah.
So why is she calling the shots to Sarah about when there's a presentation and when there isn't one?
Well, I think
And why
Sarah
is
said that-
Sarah letting her do it? She's an idiot.
No,
Again,
well, Sarah was trying and saying, "Look, you
Sarah's an
sure we
idiot.
don't have to do this today?" I think
No.
you're being hard on Sarah.
I'm
She
not.
was trying to.
She's a bad boss.
She tried to stop her from doing the presentation, but
Michael,
Nina was like, "No,
if you're the
I'm
boss
fine."
of a factory, you don't need to try to stop a 20-year-old girl from doing something who doesn't actually work there.
I'm
You
not
don't
going to
go,
deny that Sarah's a bad boss.
"Oh, you
but
shouldn't maybe do this." You go home and get yourself a coffee because I think you might still be bladdered, and you're certainly not in the right frame of mind. Sarah's such a silly girl.
she's got a lot to learn, that's for sure.
You don't get your freelancer does not tell you when a meeting is. Okay, Sarah. Anyway, so she just turns up with this presentation. She's really not doing well. She's like, I'm fine.
Entertaining.
And not only that, but the presentation is. I thought the presentation was to her and Carlo. It's not. She's brought a bloody client in. Sarah's such an idiot. She's brought the client into this to be given this presentation by this girl who's losing her mind, whose boyfriend was murdered, and she's like, "Oh, it'll probably be okay." So
she's probably already ringing her way around the ring road as we speak. By the time Sarah realised it was too late, so she just give it a go.
So the presentation begins. Nina's like, "Oh, I'm trying to find my design, but I can't find it. Oh wow, it's just the same as that one, but more purple and obvious. You know, like what your clients like." And she's like, "Oh, you're trying to say my customers are obvious?" And it's like, I mean, look, everyone puts one leg in their underpants at a time, don't they? Let's not pretend that anyone's better than anybody else. So she says, "Stick your job, stick your stupid designer underwear, I'm going." So well done, Sarah. Really. She's lost a client and a freelance designer. and from what we understand, Sarah can't design pants to save her life. So what's she going to do now?
Well, it's not her job to design them, is it?
Well, it was earlier, before she hired Nina.
Call Asher in. I'm sure she's not Asher. What's her face?
Where's Alia gone?
Alia, that's who I mean.
Alia's
Alia.
not only
She's
good
genius.
at designing underwear, but she's got a machine that embroiders it.
Whatever
She
happened
got
to
that through blackmail. Anyway, so she goes to the pub. She's telling Daisy about her evening last night, which ended up with her crashing at a stranger's hotel room. Abby's there listening, and she looks worried, but she leaves because she can't stand to watch Nina kind of humiliate herself. Then the guy turns up that Nina had spent the night with, and it's a man called Huey, who's an older bloke.
He was a character, wasn't he? To be sure.
He is. He's got his wedding ring on. He is not a
He's
prize
old
specimen.
enough to be Nina's dad.
Well, he's been married for 19 years, which is nearly the same age as Nina has been alive. Daisy's not
Nina's
impressed.
completely sloshed at this point, isn't she?
She's drunk,
just-
she's laughing. Huey gets drunk, he's singing, she's swaying along. Daisy's just getting annoyed. She eventually slings them both out, and he invites Nina to come to his hotel room. To be honest, at this point, I know this was a toxic and unpleasant situation in which both Nina and Huey were using one another in a very harmful way. They were having the most fun out of anybody the whole week.
I know.
I was on team Nina and Huey. Let's go back to the hotel room. Let's raid the minibar and eat cashew nuts. So anyway, Abby comes to the pub later and finds out from Daisy what's been going on and which hotel they're going to. And can you guess?
The only hotel,
Can
really,
you guess
to be
which
fair.
one it is? It's what's it called? Chariot Hotel or
don't
something. Chariot Square. It's the
So,
one.
yeah,
It's the
Debbie-
one that
Debbie's
everybody
hotel.
always goes
The one with
to.
the roof collapse.
It's the one where the roof collapses and every other person is a prostitute, apparently, according to the show. Nina spots Tommy O. Tommy
Hey.
Orpington is at the hotel. It's a swish place, of course. Only the highest of clientele can go to
It's
such
the
a
Hilton of
swanky interiors.
Yeah, she's quite excited to see Tom, isn't she? Because she just knows because
She's like,
Luke,
he's famous. He's famous.
Yeah, her dad, Richard was his name. He used to like Reading County.
Right. That's true.
And,
yeah.
So she's like, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah. So she's quite excited. She's telling Huey about it, and I don't think he's a football fan.
No.
Who'd have thought? This soon fades when Tommy Orpington introduces to his his agent.
Yeah, that's right.
County's up and coming young prodigy, one Corrie Brent. And she's there, and there's an amazing shot of her, and the focus, she's sort of behind Corey's head, staring at him in the distance, and the focus changes from Corey looking sort of stupidly excited, and then it focuses on Nina glaring at him like she can kill him with her eyes.
Mm.
And then later on there's a bit where she's standing behind him and she looks like she's just dragged herself out of a well to take revenge for watching a videotape. So, Tommy is trying to get his agent to sign Corey up because he thinks he's going to be an amazing footballer in the future. And they're having a brilliant time. So Nina stands up and goes over to them, and Tommy's like, "Oh, here we go. Sorry about this. You'll have to get used to this when you're famous," because she just wants a photo. And he takes a photo of them together, and she's standing in the background.
What I loved about this was at first it took a little while for Corey to recognise Nina. Even I can't remember. He has seen her without her makeup, hasn't he? Surely at the funeral, but I think he's more used to seeing her, in her goth makeup, and the look on his face when he realises who this is.
Well, he probably didn't look at her properly.
No,
which goes to show you what kind of a person he is, that he doesn't even look at people's faces. Because, unless you're doing something for him, he's not bothered.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tommy A's like, "Oh, you want a photo with me, but you also want a photo with this guy because he's going to be an up-and-coming star, and you can say you knew him first." She's like, "Oh, I knew who he is. I know exactly who he is."
I love the first little selfie that Tommy O does, where she's just standing there in the background. It's a very socially distanced one, and she's just there not smiling or anything at all, is she? It's
hilarious. It's just like It Follows.
It is, yeah.
She says, "Maybe you'd recognise me better if I was laid on the floor." And Tommy O's like, "Oh, I thought that he thought she was saying he slept with me and dumped me."
Yeah, that's what... I think he did think that.
No, but then it becomes apparent that, I don't know, maybe...
He thought that first.
He knows about Corey's incident.
Yeah, because she says if I was on the floor, and then he gives a good look, and she was going, "Yeah, and all your mates were kicking 7 bells out of me," basically. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he realises that things are going south a little bit here.
Well, she says, "I don't know much about football, but this lad has nice, strong feet." And the agent is like, this is over. This is over. Tommy Orpington is trying to make excuses. He clearly knows that Corey's got in trouble about this, but he obviously believes Corey's story. And to be honest, until it's been tried in court, I don't know why you wouldn't necessarily.
Well, I wonder what this says about where Corrie wants to take the character of Tommy Orpington, which, let's be fair, for the past few years, it's been nowhere.
No, but it is interesting because we've only known him as sort of a fun local celebrity who's quite indulgent with the characters and kind of finds it funny how excited they get
Steve and Tim falling all over him.
But there's a more sinister side to him here.
He really did, because even though he must have had, some suspicion. He knew that this guy was accused. He'd been arrested and charged. Yet he was still trying to get the agents to sign him up. I think that sounds quite sinister.
It is quite sinister, but at the same time, I feel like I'm a fair person, and I wouldn't want to judge somebody based on what somebody else had said. And
I'd probably wait until after the trial, so I didn't risk bringing disrepute on the great name of Weatherfield County.
Of course, I agree with you. I totally agree with you, but I'm not going to throw Tommy Orpington in the bin based on the fact that he believed a boy who is pretty charming and convincing, that he didn't kick somebody to death, especially considering that other people were definitely involved.
Yeah, I guess Weatherfield have got to snap him up before Man United get their hands on him, don't they? It's only a matter of time, surely.
It does show very bad judge of character that you would even consider, chancing it. Because I certainly would agree with you on the point that you say, look, I believe you, but at the same time, come back to me when the court case is done.
I wonder why they chose to have Tommy O doing it and not like James, for example. Not not that I necessarily want James championing me if I was Corrie, but maybe it is because they
really
want to take him down a bit of a darker route. If we see him again, I mean, as far as that could be the last we ever see him. I'm not expecting to see him again. I'm not expecting to see Freda again. Maybe not even Dr. Gaddis, or maybe that was her, for last appearance in the next six months.
Well, I thought this was interesting and fun.
This was when it was really hotting up. This kind of second half of Wednesday's episode, I would say, is my highlight of the week.
Corrie calls her psycho after the agent and Tommy O walk off. He leaves. She picks up his trophy, which is the promising young player trophy or whatever it is, and tries to follow him with it. Football. Abby shows up and stops her. This kind of annoyed me a little bit because now we've had both women stop each other trying to kill Corrie.
Yeah, that's true actually.
With a brick or a bottle or a trophy. It's like, really, can somebody just kill him? Because I feel like he's getting away too much with being stalked by murderous women. Abby sits Nina down and says, you need to see sense here. You're not in your right frame of mind. But she doesn't want to listen to her. She gets up and she tries to go to Huey's room. He's like, yeah, brilliant. And Abby stops her and Nina says, I haven't slept with him, and suddenly breaks down and she's going, I don't know what I'm doing. And this was really sad to watch. She's literally
Molly's brilliant.
Just lost. She doesn't know how to react to this. She's trying to process her grief. She's trying to cope with these emotions. She doesn't want to confront them, so she's trying to bury them, and they're not going anywhere. And she's just making everything worse for herself, really. They go back to the cafe together and she's starting to sober up, and Abby says, look, I understand. I understand what you're going through, but you've got to fight this urge to go off the rails like I'm having to do. Don't you think I would love to just go on the drugs and forget this ever happened? But you need to stop thinking about what happened because you're driving yourself mad. There's nothing you could have done to have changed what happened. And she says, Seb's gone, but what can we do? We can make sure that we don't make things worse. And she's also saying, it wasn't a choice. It wasn't like you or him. If you had died, he might still have died anyway. You didn't choose this, neither did he. So Abby promises...
Yeah, she's got the old survivor's guilt, hasn't she? In the case of the what ifs.
Yeah. Abby promises her that she's got her back and she needs to accept people who want to help her. So Nina's then alone in the cafe when Corrie comes to the door and tries to get in. He's shouting, hiya, freak.
Well, no, she opens the door first, doesn't she? And then he's just there in her face.
Yeah,
and
she quickly closes the door.
This is brilliant.
And then she picks up the trophy.
She's still handily taken back with her from the hotel.
I know, she's like, this is free trophy. I'm not going to... Let's say this is mine. Why not? I mean, if I'd done football, maybe this could have been mine.
She's pretty good with the old arts and crafts. She could turn it into something else.
I don't think
Goth of the Year award.
Yeah, that's true. So he's like yelling through the door, going, "You're a coward. You're a freak." So she picks the trophy up and goes outside, and he's like, "You're ruining my future." And she says, "Nice, you have a future. Seb doesn't." And he says, "Whatever you do, you're still a weirdo, a slutty little gothy freak." And I thought this was really exciting, and I really wanted her to kill him.
I don't,
really,
but I kind of did.
It would ruin her life, I know, but this is fiction, so she could get off on a technicality, I don't know.
I mean, it was kind of shade to Tracy Barlow and Charlie Stubbs, wasn't it? With the ornament, like, I really want her to, but
want her to beat him to death.
But I was wondering, I really, really was, and it was the same with Abby in the bottle the other week when Asher stopped her with the scene on the stairs. Like, he really, really deserves it, but no. But this was fantastic. So I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know whether she would end up attacking him or what. Having that trophy there for the 3-4 preceding scenes. You're just thinking
it was a bit of a Chekhov's gun, wasn't it?
It really, really was.
But it didn't get shot. Now Molly Gallagher gave a fantastic performance here because she was just. I hate the word hysterical because it is a sexist term, but that kind of unhinged she was shrieking at him, but she was just barely holding on to her ability to speak because of how upset and angry that she was at him. Like, coward, you call me a coward? You and your friends followed me and beat my boyfriend to death. I'm not a coward. And then she throws this trophy on the floor and it breaks. And he's like, no! And he tries to go after her. And just as he's about to get to her, Roy opens the door and says, "Stop at once, your bail conditions forbid you." And he's like, "Oh, what are you going to do about it, Grandad?" And then the police turn up, and that's what Roy did about it.
Yeah, Officer Craig, he came
He
and
comes
arrested
out
him,
and
didn't
says, "You're in trouble now, Buster."
You've incurred the wrath of PC Tinker.
Oh my God. He's
Good job.
he's very disappointed in you.
Yeah.
On Sunday, Nina comes back to the cafe. She's been to visit Richard's grave, and she says,
Father's Day.
yes, it seems to have helped her a little bit. This is your warning. You've got a week. It's Father's Day on Sunday.
I know. It's a really nice reminder. I have bought my dad a card, but it's sitting there on the mantelpiece, and I've got to remember to send it.
Yeah, so Roy and Nina have a little chat and talking about Richard, and she says, "I want a boring life, really." And Roy says, "I can do that. I can give you a boring life." You've put the wrong bit in there about something else.
We move on to a different story there.
And then
in my
Roy
notes.
says some more nice things, and then Nina gives him one of Richard's Scrabble racks.
How lovely.
Which is very sweet, because, you know, Roy is no one's father, but he's a father figure to many people, so he should get a gift, shouldn't he, on Father's Day, just the same as everybody else.
Absolutely.
So what did you think of this
Oh,
then,
I loved it. This
Michael?
was easily the highlight of the week for me.
It
was another one of those ones where I was a bit disappointed that it kind of fell off a cliff on Sunday, the final episode.
The third episode.
Because if this had been, we'd just been looking at the Monday and Thursday episodes, that would have been everything. That was a really, really strong week. I mean, everything that they throw at Nina, she's just doing a fantastic job. She's amazing. And I think that the build up to this confrontation out on the street on Thursday night, everything at the hotel, the moment when they're at the hotel with what was his name, Huey, I was, you know, knocked for six a little bit when Corrie came in. I had no idea
Really
that was going to happen. It's like, oh, what a brilliant twist. And
it was
Tommy
really
Orpington
good,
as well.
I like this. I really like this theme of this boy who thinks the world owes him because he's talented or gifted in some way, and therefore if his actions have consequences, it's other people's fault and they're ruining.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he believes that he's innocent.
I don't know.
The way
Yeah,
that
does
he's
he, or does he
protesting.
just think that it's not fair because he's? I think is there a bit of classism and maybe even a bit of racism here, where he thinks, look, I'm a privileged white guy. I'm a kind of upper middle class. My dad's got a business. This kind of stuff doesn't happen to people like me. Maybe I've done something wrong in my life, but I didn't deserve to go to prison for it. That's what you know.
His dad as well, Stefan, he's been just feeding him, "No, it wasn't you. You didn't do it." And it's almost like
you can imagine him sort of saying he was
convincing himself, yeah, actually, it wasn't
driven.
really just me.
It was like he was tempted into it, you know, like you can imagine, oh, well, what was she wearing? Well, she was wearing goth outfits, so of course she deserved to be attacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so when this comes to court, I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing how they play it, and just how convincing Corrie, he is when he says, "No, it won't be governor."
If Corrie survives going to court, because he keeps walking around people that want to kill him and sort of leaving weapons around for them to beat him to death with.
Yeah, it's tempting
or like
fate
falling down
bit,
the stairs.
I mean, I wonder whether he's going to be locked up now because he's broken these bail conditions. It could well be that they bang him up until the court case, and I hope it's soon.
I think Corrie is living Coronation Street's version of Final Destination. He nearly got hit with a bottle. He fell down the stairs and nearly died then. And now he's nearly been beaten to death with a football trophy. What is next?
I don't know. I hope that it's not going to be too long for the court case. I mean, if this Harvey one is anything to go by, and also the Ray and Faye one, it could be a bit of a long wait. But I don't want this story to go on the back burner ever. This needs to be a little bit every week. Well, not every week. I just think it's brilliant. And nice to it's nice to see that Nina she's calmed down a bit. I think she understands a bit more now that she's got to let justice be served. And
I know, but the thing is, I feel big sympathy for people who indulge in self-destructive behaviours as a coping mechanism. Yeah, it is self-destructive, but can you not? She's not gonna die of liver failure if she has a couple of bottles of of vodka.
Speaking of which,
in a
how's
week.
Peter getting on now?
She
The last
needs,
thing we saw of him, he got his liver and it's like, yeah, we assume he's fine now.
Blowing off some steam and letting go. I think you can be forgiven for like maybe a few weeks worth of that and then put the stops on it. But once something terrible has happened like this, I think you deserve to be cut some slack.
Yeah.
Everybody's just on there going, oh no, it's really bad. I think Carla was the most realistic person here, where she's like saying, just let her, like, of all the people, like Evelyn even said, of all the people who knows how destructive drowning your sorrows in alcohol is, Carla is the one. But she understands that this is a reaction, it's an extreme reaction to an extreme situation.
Unfortunately, Nina does have some very kind people that are looking out for her, doesn't she? She's got Roy, who's great. I mean, the scenes with Roy and Nina were fine. I mean, David Nilsson's always brilliant, and sometimes when he sits down and has a wise man chat with a character, sometimes it feels a bit going through the motions, which makes it sound worse than it is. But
no, I said that last week. It's all a bit twee and pat.
Another Roy giving worldly advice here. I probably would have preferred to have seen more with Abby or even Asher, who was sidelined a little bit this week, wasn't
But it just goes to show you that being told all the right things it doesn't even help. This is the point. This is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Nobody can help her. She has to process it in her own time, and if all this is part of her processing it, then just let her, as long as it's not self-destructive or anyone else gets hurt. You know, sleeping around, not really a great idea.
She didn't sleep with him.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Becoming an alcoholic, I'd say big no. Don't do that. Not a good idea.
We just got rid of one alcoholic. Let's not have another one, please.
But maybe it's not the end of the world if she acts out a little bit after all the time, after everything she's been through. You can sit at home and, you know, watch some YouTube channels about grief and write a diary about stuff and talk to people and look at pictures, but, you know, also you can get bladdered and lie in Villain's Alley overnight.
Can you imagine me doing that if you ever get beaten to death down a dark alley? Can you imagine me turning to the bottle?
Yeah, a bottle of milkshake.
Oh yeah.
Nice chocolate mocha.
Well, I'd be also interested to see whether anything else happens with her and Daisy, who, like I said earlier, was really great at offering kindness and sympathy.
You'd think that she would...
And the two of them have got nothing in common.
No,
They're
I know,
diametric
but they both...
opposites,
Yeah, but
aren't they?
her brother died, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, if you were to say every character on the street has had
an
unusual bereavement at some point or another during Super Soap Week, or
sometimes it takes like an outsider for a character who's going through a problem to take stock of their problems, and I don't know. It could be a very interesting direction for Daisy to go. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not, but.
Anyway, I think still absolutely loving Nina. I think she's great.
I want to know whether anything's going to happen with this Instagram. Like, is somebody going to see it? Is it going to trigger something for someone? Because I don't really know what's happening with those other two that were out on the attack. Have they been hauled in by the police? Are they going to... I don't think so. Are they going to see the Instagram post and recognise themselves in it?
There's a distressing lack of clarity over what the official story the police think actually happened is, you know, and what exactly it is that they think Corrie has done now.
They definitely think that Corrie has kicked somebody, whether it's Nina or Seb.
Yeah, okay, but...
They think that maybe Kelly did as well.
But do they, you know, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what evidence did they even find evidence? We know they were looking in the river for what Corrie had thrown in there. Did they ever find it? I can't remember.
I don't think they did. But he basically admitted doing it anyway.
Did he? He didn't. No, he admitted he was there.
I thought I don't know.
See? Exactly. See what I'm saying? Like, you've just proven me right.
Anyway, good stuff.
But, you know, again, Coronation Street isn't a crime drama. But the trouble is they are doing...
drama.
Yeah. They are doing a lot of stories that are crime drama stories, but they're missing all the points that what people like about a crime drama, which is trying to work out who did what and what the clues are and stuff. I don't see why they couldn't throw themselves more wholeheartedly into that nitty-gritty of stuff, because they flirt with it a lot, but they just never really go there.
I think I'm glad they don't. I wouldn't be able to follow it, would I? Let's face it.
I know, but not everything has to be for everybody.
Right, let's do the high summer story then. So, we start on Monday with the first episode with Billy finding Nina's empty bottle in his flat, and he's a bit worried about this. And Summer says, "Look, it was just Nina. Yeah, she was round here last night.
Just grass.
And she's got a Spanish assessment at school today that she was learning for with Asher the other day.
Bonjour.
Well, it got partly that, doesn't
Exactly.
it? Billy tells Todd he's worried about Summer, and Summer herself is found worrying around in the Victoria Gardens later by Asher.
In the middle of a windstorm.
It was, wasn't it? It was some kind of cyclone hitting Weatherfield during that.
There was wind everywhere.
Yeah, Tanisha Corrie's hair just blowing all over the place.
Which was ironic because today was the hottest day of the year so far.
Asher tells Summer that she'll be okay, but I don't know, because Summer throws away her apple and her banana, so something is clearly up. Billy comes back home later. Summer says that the Spanish test went fine. She doesn't look like she's being completely honest, and I thought they were going to go down the route as she skipped the exam.
Yeah.
But she did turn up, it turns out. Billy gets a phone call from the school later, and she turned up, but did half the exam in Spanish and half the exam in French. So they're a bit concerned about this. I don't know how much that kind of thing really goes on. As somebody who did 2 languages at school, I don't think I ever kind of got them mixed up.
That's because you weren't high on energy drinks.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, I'm impressed with Summer for taking 2 languages, because not many people do that these days.
I did French and Spanish.
Well, I know they did back when we were little, when you had to do language at GCSE.
They forced me.
It's been a worrying decline. I read a school report about it just last week.
Oh, did you? But
That's well done.
The question is not, did she mix French and Spanish up? The question is, was it correct? Because if it was correct French and Spanish, what's the problem?
Yeah,
she just did 2 exams in one.
Yeah,
She's the most efficient student that school's ever had. She went into a French test and she got an A star in Spanish. What are you moaning about? Well,
killing 2 Wazo with 1, I don't know what Spanish for stoner.
Stonio.
Pierre something, or Pedro, I don't know.
What? No, it wouldn't be an A star, it would be a 9 or whatever it is.
Whatever they say, call it these days. Anyway, Todd and Billy are doing their best to reassure Summer. It's fine, I'm sure you did okay, because they see that she's at breaking point already. And she says, I'm going off to bed, and we see her carrying this dodgy looking pink can.
You can tell it's evil because it's got a lightning bolt on it.
It has, yeah. Another Michael Gleason creation, I think that one was. On the second episode,
I would buy it. Look good.
Summer is in. I think it was. I mean, it was energy drink for girls, wasn't it?
What was it called? It's called Dino.
It was bright pink.
Was it to give you the energy to laugh and eat a salad when you're on your period wearing white trousers?
Summer's in a massive tiz on Thursday morning. Billy reckons that she should go to the doctors, and she doesn't really like the idea of it, but she ends up agreeing just to get them off her back. And she has a video appointment with Dr. Gadas, which is lovely.
Yay!
Nice to see her.
I'm ill. I'm ill too.
Me too. I want a video
appointment
with Dr. Gadas.
Help me.
We don't even have to make the journey up to Weatherfield.
Oh, God. Can you imagine how big our waiting list would be if she opened to international...
to the public.
international... What's it called? Patients.
The actress who plays Dr. Gadas, when she leaves Coronation Street, all she has to do is actually train to be a doctor for 7 years, and then she'll be pointing it in, won't she?
She'll probably be able to shave off at least 1 year with all her soap knowledge.
It was lovely to see her. However, the obvious lack of Gadas on Friday's episode, when she apparently turned up at the flat and we just saw Todd waving her off. And we got to hear about her family, didn't we? She's got a geriatric mother. She's got a son. Dr. Gaddis has got a son. When are we going to be introduced to him?
He goes to the same school as Summer.
Goes to the same school as Summer. Come on now,
apparently
please.
he's very loose-lipped.
Yeah, we need... I've never wanted a new character more than I want Gaddis Jr. Anyway, that was a nice scene, actually, wasn't it? I love Gaddis so much.
She asked her...
I'd turn into... even more of a hypochondriac than I already am if I got the chance to go and see her more often.
Did you... This was really interesting. And
Summer's saying that she's all over the place. She's just finding life really hard at the moment. She said, my head's full, but it's full of nothing. She talks about how COVID affected her, so it was very topical. She says that there was lockdown, remote learning, and I was thinking, hang on a minute, I don't think that Weatherfield High went on lockdown. I think we saw them going to school all the way throughout. But never mind, let's just have a little bit of a retcon there. It's weird, isn't it? We clearly saw that life carried on as normal, yet they're saying it didn't.
Oh,
and it was a little bit like how we had when they had that break almost a year ago. We talked about like Shona being on lockdown in Roy's flat, didn't we? And David had to go and visit her and serenade her out the window. So it's a weird situation where we're led to believe something has happened that we haven't seen, and we just go, okay, we'll let that one slide, Corrie. But anyway, Gada says that it sounds like you're a bit stressed, you're a bit anxious. Have you had dark thoughts? And she was like, no, but I don't know if Kate Oates is coming back to take over as producer one day. Who knows where it could go. She gets a CAMHS referral anyway, which is a mental health thing.
Do you know what it stands for?
No, I think I've even got my acronym wrong. I think the MH in it is for mental health. So maybe it's CAMHS? Counselling and Mental Health Service? I don't know. Anyway, Gada's also got some stress-busting tips as well, which we sadly don't get to hear about.
Have you got the... You can't be bothered to do a swear buzzer, can you?
No, really can't. Really can't.
Well, because I was going to say, the stress-busting technique is like when things get too much, just say, F this.
Piggin!
Just say, when I have a particularly stressful patient, when they leave, I just go, pigging heck. And then I throw a dart at a board. Have you tried that?
Summer seems happier later. And Billy and Todd have a quite nice moment where Billy says, oh, Todd, you're a good one. And Todd's like, I know. They're growing a bit
Typical
closer.
Todd. Just takes the compliment. You're supposed to deny it, Todd.
Todd hasn't been at all devious this week, has he? It's been nice to see more of his sensitive side coming through.
This is really
much as I love devious Todd, this is nice to see as well. But I'm still utterly convinced that he's going to screw it up and Todd's going to be with Paul by the end of the year, aren't you?
Yes.
So the final episode of the week, it's Father's Day, it's Sunday. Billy and Todd have both got Father's Day cards from Summer, which is nice. I think she might have forgotten her actual dad, because whereas Steve and Leanne went to visit Ollie's grave, we had Nina going to visit Richard's grave. I don't think poor Drew even got a mention from Summer unless I mentioned it. No. And she's feeling pretty cheery, and she invites them to the bistro for lunch.
Did Drew have a partner? I think he did.
I believe so.
So really, Summer's the girl that's got 4 dads.
That's
an expensive Father's Day, isn't it?
Bet she gets it all right when it's her birthday, isn't she? Apart from one of them.
No, one of them's dead.
Anyway, they're having a lovely time later at the bistro. Todd and Billy can see Summer's like full of energy. Todd's like saying your leg's twitching. He seems to think that she's just full of anxiety for tomorrow's exam, and she wants to go back home and do some revision. But we know that she's high on Dino, is that what you said it was called? So they let her go off, and Todd and Billy get some time left alone in the bistro. Billy's looking very contented. Todd says, oh, I want us to be a proper family again. And Billy agrees to having him move into the flat. I'd kind of forgotten that he wasn't already living with them.
I always find it funny when we have these really touching moments in Coronation Street where a couple decides to do something significant in their relationship, and you had, as a viewer, already assumed they were at that stage, if not further along.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I just thought they were... when I saw them today, or this week, Todd and Billy hanging around together so much, I was like, oh, so I kind of had forgotten but he'd moved in with them. But then it turned out that he hadn't actually moved in with them. He's just hanging around there all the time.
Still living with Eileen. What's she going to think about it? Losing her son, yes,
she's
again.
going to lose out on some rent.
Have we actually seen
and
Eileen?
And she can't use his Spotify.
Have you actually seen Eileen since she heard that Seb was dead?
Right.
I'm kind of a bit worried about her.
Yeah, let's check in on Eileen. What's she doing?
Yeah, everyone's worried about how Nina and Summer are reacting to this brutal murder, but Eileen, she's locked herself in the toilet for the past month. Time that we refocus back on her. And what is going on with Eileen and George? This has been brewing between them since he arrived on the street, basically, hasn't it? I think it is high time that we had that story, but it does appear that maybe Sue Cleaver can't be on the show as much as we would maybe want her to be at the moment, so we'll let her off. Anyway, back at home, meanwhile, Summer, she has a bit of a wobble, doesn't she? She has an attack of the old shaky ruse and faints on the sofa, and she's found later on by Todd and Billy. They have a bit of funny sound woozy effects, don't they? And Todd and Billy think that she's just fainted with the excitement of the gunshots that have been going on in the other storyline.
She's not a Victorian dowager.
Oh, goodness me.
Hey, what was that?
just
someone undo my corset.
They're all very blasé about gunshots, really.
I know, they're like, whatever.
Another weekly
died
shooting.
this time.
It's like that episode of South Park, wasn't it, about the school shootings? And was it only... who was it? It was Sharon Marsh, I think, was the only person in the whole South Park that's like, what do you mean? This is another school shooting and everyone's acting like it's normal. That really is on Coronation Street these days. Anyway, Summer says that I don't want to have an ambulance. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I've just been overdoing it. I've just been working too hard. I've just had, an energy drink.
And she confesses that she's had this energy drink.
Yeah.
And Billy says, I'm very disappointed.
Tut.
Now, how old is she?
She must 15, 16.
Okay, because if she's under 16, I don't know if you're actually allowed to buy them.
I don't know, maybe, and maybe we're
being very blasé here about.
I think I remember my first Red Bull, and I was probably older than this. To be fair, I remember.
It was very recently.
What?
Wasn't it?
No, I'm not sure. I remember when I was a late teenager, and I was at I was like at a band rehearsal in the Warwickshire Jazz Band that I was in, and my friend Mark had a Red Bull, and I thought he was so grown up.
These jazz bands, Michael, they're a bad influence, aren't they?
I know. I maybe had a little bit of a sip of it then.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah.
I don't think I had an energy drink for until I was maybe in my 30s.
But they're really nice, aren't they?
They're very delicious. And Red Bull, the flavour, of course, is electric strawberry, as we know.
Yeah, apparently so.
But I think Coca-Cola and tea is enough for me. But yeah, I think that they actually, for all we made fun of Billy and Summer sort of acting as though this was an illicit substance, I do think that they have a much greater effect on teenagers than they do on adults.
Yeah, I mean, and Summer's not exactly...
She's a bit straight edge, isn't she?
She is a bit straight edge. She's also not exactly built for taking hardened drugs or anything like that. She's a bit of a waif of a girl, isn't she? She's not sturdy girl. That's a good one.
That's what I am.
I'm sure that Harriet would approve of that.
I'm a good sturdy girl, and I can have a Red Bull or two.
Yeah, and you could drink her under the table,
couldn't you? If it was a Red Bull competition.
Anyway, so they're a bit worried about this, and they end up arguing, and
she's getting really defensive, isn't she? And this is not like Summer at all.
No. But then again, what is like Summer at the moment? Because I don't know. I'm really honestly not sure.
I do think this week, I don't know whether it was the costuming or what it was, but she definitely did give me the impression of looking a bit younger than she usually does. Maybe they used different makeup on her or something.
I'm starting to get a bit more used to it. I think this week, this is probably the most we've seen Summer since Harriet's taken over the role, isn't it?
Because I think I usually have loads of praise for the costume department. I don't think I've ever criticised them for anything, but I do think they went wrong with Summer's outfit, because she looked like a companion on Doctor Who or a children's television presenter rather than a young girl. What a young girl would wear. But now I kind of, maybe I'm just used to what she looks like, or I think so. Maybe they've tweaked it a little bit, but she looked like a parody of a teenager, but now I think she looks a bit more natural. She's
still not as believable as
what do teenage girls dress like these days? I wouldn't even know.
Anyway, Gadas comes round and then disappears like a thief in the night. She's been pulled away from this family meal at the bistro.
I know.
And she suggested that Summer get blood tests. Summer done one, all the fuss. Rah. She drops off. And Billy confides in Todd that Gadas reckons that it's an eating disorder that Summer's got.
She's not eating very well, and Billy says she's lost weight too.
Yes. So Billy says to Todd, look, I know we were getting excited about you moving in and everything, but I think that this is far too much drama going on already in this house. Too much upheaval for now. And Todd's, I think, rightfully offended that Billy just sees him as a bit of an inconvenience.
Well, do you not think that this is also a bit stupid, because he's almost risking splitting up with Todd over this, which is far more of an upheaval than him moving in when he said, I basically already lived there.
Yeah, and I think that having Todd around as a supportive influence would actually be better than...
I don't know, but he's a bit of a bad influence, if you ask me.
Not where Summer's concerned.
He cares about... I honestly think that Summer is the only person in the whole world that Todd would never hurt on purpose. Even his mum, I think Todd would, if he could get something out of it. About Summer, he has a real strong paternal feeling for her, which is very, very sweet.
Yeah. He, at the end of the episode, he kind of talks, he says about, oh, I'd marry you tomorrow if I could. And it didn't look like, you know, wedding bells didn't start ringing or anything, but
He said he wants to be a
things have
proper
certainly
family.
moved up a notch, haven't they? So I'm kind of guessing that Billy is going to accept this semi-proposal from Todd, and there will be a bit more stability.
Then there can be some wedding day drama
There,
for Christmas.
there will be scheming from Todd. He's going to screw it up. I'm absolutely, as I really, really, really want Todd and Billy to stay together, but I don't think it's going to happen. He's just going to be back with boring old Paul. Sorry.
Sorry, Paul.
They're clearly, clearly Billy, Todd and Summer are a much more interesting and engaging family unit than Billy, Paul and Summer would be. And I know a lot of people don't like Billy and everything, but I think that Billy is better when he is with Todd than he is than when he's with Paul as well. But anyway, I'm not in charge of the show. If I was, things would be very different. Well, some things would be anyway. Jenny and Johnny getting back together again. We didn't get to see Jenny at all today, did we?
I
Very
know.
sad.
Can you believe this?
No. What do you think about the potential for Billy and Todd's relationship? Are you in the same boat as me with that one, or?
I didn't even. It's one of these things where I didn't even enter my mind to consider what do I think of it.
Well, now
I'm not that
you're
bothered.
on the spot.
I'm not that bothered. I don't. They're fine together. I don't know.
Better than Paul, though. Yeah.
I'm not in it for this.
What are you in it for?
I'm
More
loving
gas?
the issues storylines, and I really like this energy drink one.
It just seems a little bit lightweight, doesn't it?
Well,
when you
I know it is a bit.
On the
like,
one
this
hand,
is
you
the-
got the story of Harvey dealing drugs
I
out of the fish and
know.
chip shop, and now she's
Yeah, I
found
know.
one can of energy drink, and now she's having a seizure.
Summer always has been a bit of a drama queen when it comes to illicit substances, hasn't
Well,
she?
at least it's not back on the spice again, isn't it?
But
You'd have thought she'd have built up a bit of an immunity to.
But can I just say,
To
I've
hide
looked
drugs
this
after
up now. UK-rehab.com, and they're talking about like teen risks, energy drink addiction, and one of the most like a risk factor for being addicted is high levels of academic work, especially around exams.
Well, I do like as
And
much
stress.
as they have changed Summer's character a little bit since the recasting. I do like how they've kept her as an academic, and Asher as well. It's nice to have some good role models for
It
the
is
young
good
children,
to have children,
because
yeah.
it's so easy for Coronation Street and I guess the other soaps to go down the route of a troublesome teen. They turn,
Pregnancy,
rebellions.
drinking, right,
Exactly. And you got these two characters here that could actually really, really have a bright future. I mean, I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched and anything, but one of them at least might end up going to university. Who knows?
Oh.
It'd be silly if Summer didn't go to university, wouldn't it?
Lots of children go now from backgrounds of families where they wouldn't normally have. But she's a very middle class child. Her father seemed very middle class. Billy's the archdeacon.
Yeah, I bet he was gutted on Sunday and was like, "Oh, what? Oh, I've got an episode today. It's a Sunday. I've got to go to work. I've been an archdeacon for a year now, and I haven't actually had to go to church on Sundays because we don't exist on a Sunday. But now, I'm gonna. Hope they don't show it. Don't worry, they didn't.
I also like the fact that someone's like, "Oh, I've booked us a meal for Father's Day," and Billy's like, "Yeah, no problem.
I'm just the archdeacon.
I don't do anything on
It's only
Sundays."
Sunday. Yeah. Oh, that's a good sneeze.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Should we keep that in? I'm going to keep in that sneeze. That was impressive. I think you wetted some people's shoulders.
I've actually got it all over the iPad. Okay, so one thing I want to say is that this say she is addicted. I'm assuming that because nobody on Coronation Street has a little bit of a problem with anything. It's always full blast all the way. So I think she's going to end up with an energy drink addiction. But the trouble is, if you have become dependent on consuming them, you will then, if you stop taking them, go through a bit of a withdrawal period.
I honestly didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah. So some of the things that risks for being addicted are sleep disturbances, depression, acid reflux, cardiovascular problems, irritability, thought fogginess, anxiety, stomach aches, muscle twitching, social difficulties, and difficulty concentrating, none of which you want when you're trying to do an exam. Withdrawal symptoms include fatigue, decreased alertness, overall negative affect, difficulty concentrating, feeling foggy, low energy and activeness, drowsiness, depressed mood states and irritability. But more worryingly, the health risks that can be associated with them can be a caffeine overdose, which is when you can have palpitations, high blood pressure, nausea, vomiting, convulsions, and you could die. This has happened. I remember reading about people having caffeine overdoses of taking caffeine powder because it's not dosed properly, so you don't know how much you're actually taking. You overestimate how much you need, and you take too much, you just die. You can also have neurological and cardiovascular effects in adolescence. Obesity, that's one to watch out for, so I don't want that.
Don't end up like Gemma.
There's lots of other things that are a bit more like long term, like getting diabetes and poor dental health. But I think the caffeine overdose is something might be perhaps.
They've kind of stealthless issue story into the show, haven't they? I didn't know this was happening. With Summer, the spotlight's really not been on her since Seb's attack, has it? We've seen the odd scene here and there with her saying, "Oh, I'm finding it difficult," but I kind of thought that she'd be on the sidelines a little bit because she wasn't actually there.
See, this storyline reminds me a little bit of what happened with the Ollie storyline, where we're seeing lots of people sort of spiralling off into different storylines based on what happened, because I assume that this is partly down to her being involved with Seb and Nina, but I also think it's also just the exam stress and everything she said about lockdown and stuff. It's all added into this.
I really liked how they brought that in. It made it feel a lot more real.
Feeling like she can't concentrate on work and going, what can I do? How can I overcome this? I know I'll take an energy drink because it will help me focus. But actually, it's all the things I've just said sort of demonstrate quite neatly that this is not a solution. If you're But, you know, we all know, don't we? Oh, well, if you're stressed, you need to get more sleep and you need to make sure that you have a healthy diet and you exercise. Like, yeah, I know, but can I just have an energy drink and not do all that other stuff?
I wish I should have had some energy drinks over the weekend, and I got, like, what? How much sleep did I get over the weekend?
Yeah, but it's not a good idea, Michael. You're supposed to go to bed
at 3 hours on Saturday night.
I know you did, because you got up
at 5 o'clock to do more flipping schoolwork.
Because you spent the entire week.
I spent all of the weekend working
as though it was not a normal work day, but a far more intense work day.
But I left school at 4 o'clock today, so I made up for it.
Oh wow!
Gemma, let's change stories. Let's go on to the Leanne story. It's over to you. Have it.
Have it. On Thursday, so it wasn't in it on the first episode, so this is the second episode of the week. Nick, Leanne and Simon are back home again. So all that stuff about hiding out, what a waste of time.
It felt like a massive waste of time. It was like, you know, high drama just a few weeks ago. Like, they can't find where we are. We'll never be able to come back home again, or at least until after the trial. And then they had to move safe houses. Sharon was doing all that stuff with Ardy's Xbox to try and find out where they were. And it's just like, oh, bored of that. Let's come home.
Yeah, but let's just remember what actually happened was they agreed with Harvey that they were going to lie on the stand and say that they weren't involved at all. So now they've had this assurance from Harvey that as long as they do what they said, he'll leave them alone. They've decided to return because they're not worried.
They really should have waited. I wouldn't have trusted it.
Simon's not very happy because she, as like I said, is going to change his evidence. Then we've got DC What's-His-Face.
DC Glynn.
He comes over to see Leanne and he's fishing to find out what's going on because why are you back here? Has Harvey been in contact with you? Are you okay? And she's like, oh yeah, everything's fine. And he doesn't believe her. He thinks the gang have got to her, which is very true. And it's weird that she's left the safe house. It's obvious, isn't it? She's rubbish at lying as well. He says Harvey's gang is dangerous, and she says, "Oh no, I haven't heard anything. I don't know." Nick comes back home, and she's all kerfuffled because she doesn't know what to do anymore. So DC Glynn goes to visit Harvey, and he's saying, "Listen here, Harvey. Witness intimidation is very serious." And
this is an interesting scene because we had these two very, very minor characters in the scene together, and when you saw Glynn opposite Harvey, your first reaction to it is they're in cahoots.
No,
that would have been a great twist. That would have reminded me. Do you remember when it was revealed that No, I'm thinking of Neil Clifton, when it turned out that he was a police officer.
Bent copper.
Yeah.
Nothing I hate more than bent coppers.
Oh, H got a mention in this week's Corrie, didn't it? I work for H. It was Reese that said it. Yeah, no, what was I saying?
Bent coppers.
No, oh gosh, I can't
Policemen.
remember. Oh, never mind. I had an amazing point, but...
You were saying about two minor characters having a meeting.
Oh, no, yeah. No, yeah, no, I was just talking about Clifton, wasn't I? Because we saw so many weeks of him at Nathan's sex parties, and then it was like, aha, he's a police officer, and this would have been a similar twist. But I don't think it would have made sense in the grand scheme of things, because he would have known about it by now.
But it was interesting, because it's like one of those where we talked about before, like in the bill, there's hardly ever, if ever, a scene with no police officers in it. There always has to be a police officer in every scene. So this is like two characters that aren't actually street residents having a little meeting. So yeah, he just went to warn him, and Harvey's like, oh, I don't know what you mean. So Simon's worrying later, and Leanne says, "You got to trust me. I'm going to do the right thing for all of our sakes." And then when Simon's gone, she says to Leanne, to Nick, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'll stick to the original plan. I forgot what that was. What's the original plan?
Keep stum.
Don't tell the truth.
Don't say that Harvey's a wrong un.
So that's not the original plan, though, is it? The original plan was tell everybody he's a wrong un. So now the plan is...
I don't even know. I don't think it matters at the end of the day.
It doesn't really matter because
it's what she ends up doing at the end that matters.
Okay.
She flip-flops.
She does. She's a flip-flopper. Nothing but a flip-flopper. So Harvey goes...
flipping flip-flopper, isn't she?
She is. Harvey gets on the phone to Sharon later. And
Sharon's back. Last time we saw her vanishing off in her van a couple of weeks ago.
He's worried and says, you have to make sure that Leanne and Simon don't change their story. And she says, I can't risk going back to the street. And he says... You're right, we have to take care of this another way.
We got a little set for Sharon's house, didn't we? Makes me wonder how many more scenes we're going to have there, because it was a proper, decently constructed set.
Yeah. Was it a set? Or
yeah,
was it
a
just
set.
a big room?
No, it was a set. Well, yeah, it was a house set.
Sunday, Sam gives his first ever Father's Day card to Nick. And Nick's like, what the hell are you doing here? And Sam says, don't worry, my mum's on the phone. She thinks I'm in the loft looking at a telescope. Natasha, love, I don't want to stereotype stars, but they're normally easier to see at night. What is he looking at?
When he said, Mum, I just need a bit of privacy and going upstairs to fiddle with
my telescope,
she knew, she thought he meant something else, so she's just let him to it. You can come down when he's ready.
She's very nice to give him all that space.
Yeah.
Somebody's watching them. It's a goon. So they decide to do Father's Day stuff, which for some reason involves Nick having to make him pancakes.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
He's a little
Sam's made a list of requests.
Yeah, things I want to do on Father's Day, which involves waffles and pancakes and ice cream. And Nick's such a sucker. This is why I think Sam's always running away, because if she said to Natasha, I want pancakes, she'd probably give him, whole wheat ones with bananas mashed in. Nick's just, he wouldn't know, would he?
He wanted bananas. He got a shopping list and bananas.
I'm talking about the sort of person who says, I've made you waffles, and then you go, oh, lovely. Then you go to eat it, and it's not waffle, it's like a waffle shape, but the stuff in it is like whole bran, wheat biscuits, bananas and dates mashed up together to look like a waffle, but actually it's just sadness in waffle form. So anyway, they're having fun. Nick rings Natasha up to let her know what's going on, which is a mistake because she's just gonna meow 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 meow. She doesn't get it. It's just dudes hanging out making waffles. What's your problem, Natasha? So this new goon, Reese, his name.
Why has he got a constantly rotating parade of goons? What's wrong with Beardo Van Man?
I really don't like this. I think it's a mistake. But it does make him look more powerful, doesn't it? That he's got all these goons at his disposal.
So. This makes him look like he can't decide.
Okay. You're my favourite goon this week,
the
Reese.
goon of the week.
He's at Sharon's reporting what's going on at Nick's to Harvey, and Harvey says, get round there and sort him out. Leanne comes home. She's got balloons. She's surprised to see Sam. She can't stop. She and Steve have to go to Ollie's grave.
Not just any balloons, either. They're biodegradable, non-squirrel-killing balloons.
I really cringe when she said that, because I can only assume they wrote that in so that people on Twitter wouldn't go, I can't believe that you are you're
going to let a balloon go.
Don't let balloons go because it kills the ducks.
Didn't they do that when Tina died? Didn't Steph and that lot let balloons go? How times have changed in the past 6 years. I think that's right.
I say you can't celebrate Father's Day unless you kill a duck. I'd obviously think
for your roast dinner,
obviously think biodegradable balloons are better than normal balloons. It just the thought that they had to put that in to stop people from moaning at them on Twitter just irritates me, because I know the sort of person.
Who would moan about Coronation Street on Twitter?
It's
what
not
sort
that.
Of person?
It's moaning about things that you don't know. You know what I mean? Assume that they're biodegradable. Can't we? Can't we just assume?
Just assume they're whatever you want them to be, because it's not that
It's
important.
not real. So anyway, Sharon's pacing the lounge. Reese says he's going to go and give Leanne and co a roughing up. She's trying to dissuade them, saying, no, you don't need to. They said they'd do it, so they will. Then she phones Leanne. Sharon phones Leanne and tries to get her to reassure Harvey. She says, he's getting twitchy. You need to ring him up and guarantee you're not going to drop him in it. And Leanne's like, yeah, don't tell me what to do, Sharon, and hangs up. So she's like, right, what I need now is my hoodie and my lurking coat.
I wonder, because when Leanne was spoken to about that by the police later on, she said to Glyn, as soon as I heard Sharon's voice, I put the phone down. And they were speaking for a good, 30 seconds or so, weren't they? I'm just kind of wondering whether there's going to be anything where somebody's phone records are looked at and we discover, hang on a minute, you said that you put the phone down straight away. You're actually
Corrie
talking for a lot longer.
Seems to get into the details.
It could be a little...
I don't know. That seems like I can't see how that would... Okay, maybe, yeah.
So that shows that you have been in contact with her.
Yeah. So, anyway, she runs off to help. I don't know what she thinks she's going to do. Leanne goes around to see Steve and they talk about Ollie and his last words.
Moo.
Why have you threatened his last words with moo? You horrible man.
That's what they said. They literally said that. No. His last words were at the zoo. Well,
his last words, the last time...
Heaton Park.
Okay, I didn't really hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
Weren't they just reminiscing about last year when they were together? They didn't say, remember his last words were moo.
They did. They literally did say
they?
that. They said, it was a year ago today. Do you remember when we went to that petting zoo that didn't actually have any cows in? At least he didn't show any on screen.
Okay, Michael.
I was paying attention.
I paid attention to
everything. We were on to the final episode by this point.
Except this one scene, because I just they said biodegradable and my brain switched off. She says, Sharon called me. He says, you should report it. She says, I don't care. I've just want a quiet life. And he says, Leanne, your life is never quiet. And then he says, Ollie would be very proud of you. Also, I really liked the red van that they had for Ollie's grave. That was sweet.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
No,
I saw it.
Ah.
I saw it. I didn't go, oh yes, red van, Ollie's favourite thing.
Well, I did, because I care about children. You obviously don't. Only fictional ones. I don't like real ones. Later, Nick and Sam leave for Natasha's to go and take him back. And they just stand around in the street. No wonder they got shot. Really, you know what I say? No loitering. Shoot anybody that stands on the road for longer than 5 minutes. What, you either get in the car and you're leaving, or you're not. Or you're washing it, or you're fixing it. There's no need to be standing around having a chat in the road, especially not outside my window when I'm trying to work. So anyway, they're just loitering.
So Sharon. Sharon's appeared, hasn't she? She's up at
everybody's loitering
up
all
at the
around.
viaduct.
Leanne and Steve come back from the grave and they're at the tram stop and they're talking. And then they hear a gunshot and they rush over. Sharon's there skulking about. Reese is driving away and Nick is having a nap.
He's down on the floor, isn't he? So Sam, we see the dead bodies and then it's an advert break. And I have to say that this is a bit of a come on Coronation Street, you did this to us just 2 weeks ago, having somebody get shot and then you see their body collapsed on the ground and you go, oh no, have they been shot? And then they just hop up and goes, I'm fine. That was too soon after Gary sprang up from the dead.
Couldn't they have had a little bit of a grazed temple or shot in the leg or something?
Or just, actually shoot somebody. It was exactly the same cliffhanger as we had 2 weeks ago.
Well, when you hear a gunshot in Coronation Street, everybody's like a marionette with the strings severed. They all just collapse immediately onto the floor.
Summer did, didn't she?
So, they rush over and he's like, I just wanted to see if you cared.
They just got down because...
You have to get
reasons.
down.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you do, Americans? They can tell us.
Get down.
If somebody shoots you, get down.
Mm.
So he's on the floor. He gets back up, all embarrassed because he's probably got wet trousers now. And Sam is chanting the registration plate because he is...
He's a young savant.
Yeah, I was going to say idiot savant, but that's a different thing, isn't it? So he remembers it. Well done. Auntie Sharon, she said she was trying to warn me, which I thought was a really bizarre thing. I mean, I know that she phoned her up and told her, you got to phone Harvey, but usually a character would blame Sharon immediately, but she seems to think that Sharon was there to help her.
Yeah.
Kind of like
a little fairy godmother.
Or like a dog trying to lead you to the well or something.
Yeah.
So, I've lost my place.
This is when the police arrive, isn't it?
So the police, she blames herself. The police turn up. Leanne says, Sharon called me. I hung up as soon as I heard her voice. And then Natasha comes running up. And she's like, I can't believe this again. She's like, what? I turned my back for 5 minutes and my kid's getting shot at again. What are you doing? You guys, hope you're happy with yourselves. I would be so mad if I was Natasha. She's completely right.
She's mad enough without you.
I'll help her. She can have my energy. Harvey phones Sharon and has a go at her for going round there and says Reese turned up. She says Reese turned up the heat for all of us because now it's one thing threatening other drug dealers and junkies, but now you've gone round and like a nice businessman and his little astronomy club son have just been shot at in the streets. Everybody's going to be coming down on us and the police are going to be after us even more. And I was like, I don't even care.
Yeah, he says this is that people will soon learn that this is what happens if you cross Harvey Gaskell.
Yeah. Now he's threatening Sharon there as well because Sharon's not really playing ball. He puts the phone down, then he calls Reese and says, I've got another job for you. Later, Natasha is telling Nick a new one, and Nick says, Sam, you really can't keep coming around here because every time we do, it seems to be some drama.
He needs one of these little zappers on them that when he leaves the periphery of his house, he just gets a little electric shock or something.
He needs some kind of shock collar. And he says, I'll come and...
I would just, I'd like get a little kit one and he could build it for himself without realising what he was making.
He'd do it even if you told him to, what it was. So Natasha's over this. She's again saying, no more, never seeing each other again. That's it. No more. Say goodbye to each other.
And this, when we were watching it, was the time that Gemma and I both had exactly the same thought, exactly the same time.
Yeah.
We thought she was going to take Sam downstairs and then
shot.
bang, goodbye Natasha.
She's really asking to be shot here.
She really, really is.
Just for story purposes. I was
utterly convinced at this point that the final scene in this episode would be her laying dead on the cobbles.
This is why I thought Sunday's episode wasn't as good, but I think it's because they kind of led me to believe that she was going to die.
Also, something would happen, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit
something
of a damp.
more than did, rather than the
damp.
Yes, I know. But no, Harvey's plan actually involves Reese teaching Sharon a lesson.
Beating up Sharon, which isn't fair because she's only little.
She is.
You snap her like a twig. Nick's heard back from the police. They found the car, but it's been burnt out, and it's nearly bedtime. Friend.
I don't know why I wrote that. Key
You're just
plot
thinking
point
for yourself. It's time for me to go to bed now.
It is. It's now 11 o'clock.
All right.
I'm a bit tired.
All right, shut up. Nick tells Leanne, just do what Harvey says and it will all be over. And she says, it will never be over. I'm getting stressed about it. I'm going to stand up to Harvey and tell the truth. Okay.
What's she going to do, Gemma?
She
going
says
to
she's going to tell the
not
truth.
going to tell the truth. Well, I think she's going to do whichever one it is that brings the storyline to a quick resolution.
No matter what she does, at the end of the day, it'll be the right thing to do because we're not going to have Harvey in the show for the rest of time, are we?
No.
But the thing is, he's already in prison and he's still attacking her. What more can be done? I'm not sure.
Yeah, his cronies aren't going to stop, suddenly taking orders from him.
Yeah,
if he stays in there.
They're not going to be like, listen, Harvey, I was on your side before you had your trial, but now you've been found guilty. I'm starting to think you're not a good guy anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't really feeling the drama of this. I don't know what it is.
It's a weird.
It's felt like it's been off the air for a little bit.
But there's a bigger dilemma here than really I appreciated before, because I genuinely don't think in real life, if Leanne's faced with this dilemma, there isn't a way out of it, because she told Harvey she'd do what he said and he still came after her with a gun. If she tries to get him sent down, he'll still be in the same situation he is in now, with the ability to come after her with goons. So what do you do? I guess the only thing to do is to stand up to him, because you said you'd help him and he wouldn't take it. So
yeah, maybe if she does stand up to him, all the goons will start, showing her a bit of respect.
Maybe she should become a drugs lord.
Maybe she could join his side.
Yeah, that's what she should say.
She could be the new Queen Bee. Well, now that Rita's beaten Sharon to a pulp.
Yeah, I'll be your Sharon.
Yeah.
I've got blonde hair.
Yeah.
What more do you need? I don't get it.
I'm
Gobby.
You think Sharon's going to be okay?
She's going to appear next week with a limp and a black eye, probably.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm not bothered about her. I think she'll be fine.
I think she'll. No,
I think she'll be fine. Dead. No, I think she'll get beaten up. She's not going to be killed.
She's going to
change
her ways.
And the next time we see her, she'll be all like, "Oh, Harvey," and pretending to suck up to him. And then at the very end of this whole story, I predict she will do something to help Leanne in some way, and then she'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry about everything I did. Anyway, bye." And then we won't see her again. She'll just leave.
Yeah, I think this story just needs an injection of something to raise the stakes.
But Michael, how can you raise the stakes when people are getting shot?
But they're not getting shot.
I know.
That's the
Someone
problem.
needs to die.
It feels like there's the
Natasha's
potential of something big could happen, but
why didn't they shoot Natasha?
They just brush with it. I really, really hope that happens, because
they can't just keep having Sam being around guns and nearly getting shot, and then Natasha turning up going, "I've told you before."
Yeah. it's just a little bit.
I'm starting to think you're disrespecting my wishes when I say I don't want my son to be shot by a drug dealer.
It was okay. I'm looking forward to the trial. I assume next week is the trial.
Yeah. The end.
And I hope that's the end of it, because it's had a.
It's a good story, but it needs to end soon, because if they're not gonna up the stakes any more than they already have, then there's nowhere for it to go.
No, I kind of wanted to see a bit more of Jacob, because somebody mentioned that the drugs pusher from the chip shop or something, and I didn't know whether that was referring to it's Jacob that's going to be on trial, or whether it's it's Harvey, and I'm guessing it's Harvey just because he used the chip shop boys, but I don't know. I
love that band.
The
chip shop boys.
Let's reserve judgment to next week.
I still think it was pretty enjoyable. Yeah, it was capers.
It was fine. I just thought when the story came on, it was a bit like, I want to go back to the other stories.
I really did love Sharon skulking on the corner with her little hoodie.
I loved that when Leanne clocks
she's like,
she does up her zip like Kenny on South Park and scuttles around the corner. That was quite funny. Yeah, I like Sharon. I do. I think it's a shame that they've vilified her, but it could well be that if she's now been beaten up by Harvey, she might see the light and just. I
really have no doubt that at the end of this, she'll redeem herself in some manner.
I think that she will.
Maybe she'll get shot.
Although maybe she won't survive this beating from Reese. I don't know.
No, she's not going to get killed off camera.
I think maybe she'll say, "Oh, yeah, I've realised the error of my ways, Rita, but I can't stay around here much longer. Too many bad memories or something," and then she'll go off and it'll be
she'll make a speech about families.
Semi-satisfying ending.
Families aren't blood, but they're the ones you choose.
Yeah.
Because this is her blood relative Harvey. He's causing all this aggro. But Rita's been nothing but nice to her. She's never asked her to shoot anybody.
No.
Not even Norris. Which would have been...
No Jenny this week to have seen her arch nemesis Sharon skulking around us there. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of her next week.
How would Jenny have reacted to Leanne saying, "Oh, Sharon was trying to help me"? Like, no. Help you into the floor face first.
I have the great pleasure of synopsising the rutting ties story next. So there's a lovely scene with Evelyn and Fizz at the beginning of Monday episode where Fizz is clearly struggling with the whole arrangements of Tyrone seeing the girls, and I'm not going to take him to court and everything, but Evelyn reassures her that she's doing the right thing, trying to keep civil with it, and the arrangement is that Evelyn is now going to be dropping the girls off at Tyrone's flat rather than him being able to come and collect them, and Evelyn has a very satisfying go at Tyrone round the flat later and says, "Look, this is the way it is," and
I was almost This felt like it was almost supposed to be our... everybody, not just us, I'm sure, there's lots of people out there who have been waiting for Evelyn to give Tyrone a good old-fashioned dressing down, and
This was pretty much it, wasn't it?
It was almost there, but it still wasn't as satisfying as I wanted it to be. I wanted the full force of Evelyn's evil stare and her acid tongue.
But she talks about him going around there and knocking on his own door, and every time he has to do that, he realises what he's done wrong.
Yeah, I know, but this was more of literally like a proper... that's more like a slow burn, isn't it? That's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. Whereas I wanted some cheap shots. That's what I wanted. A load of cheap shots and jabs.
Well, I mean, we got the snigger at the portrait, didn't we? She kind of sees that and just like, huh. And her reaction to that was perfect. She didn't make a huge thing of it. She shakes her head as she leaves at the end, and Tyrone has another moment where he looks at the portrait and goes, "She's right, actually. This is ridiculous." And then he goes off clothes shopping with Alina later, and I was very excited to see what she would be dressing up as next. And
it wasn't as stupid as...
It wasn't utterly ridiculous, but I mean, but everyone's Fizz's reaction particularly on Wednesday was just brilliant. But he's got a very tight t-shirt on, and even tighter.
That tight.
Okay, he's got a fancy a designer t-shirt on. What's tied to the jeans that have got holes in that Shona would be proud of, and what else did she say? Shoes, no socks.
Loafers with no socks.
Loafers with no socks, that's right, which
hate.
is the fashion apparently. And he also had this kind of velvety shirt on the next day as well, didn't he? Was it velour, was it? Anyway, Evelyn is also there when he does the grand unveiling of his new outfit, and she takes the rip out of him, yeah.
I'm starting to find this a bit weird, because it is actually possible to have a age gap relationship that isn't, like, intrinsically... bad. Like, this is all about...
Oh, I agree. I like how they're making Tyrone realise that they aren't actually really suited, and he was just attracted by the excitement of it.
It's not about making fun of people who are in age gap relationships. It's about making fun of somebody who has fallen for the idea of a person without really knowing them.
Yeah.
And I've always said this as well. That you feel like as you get older, you never feel like you're aging until you get in a room with people who are the age you think you are. And suddenly you're like, what the hell? Who are these people? You're all kind of stupid. But then I was at that age, and I still am now. And somebody who's 20 years older than me probably thinks the same thing about me.
Young people don't realise, do they?
No. I've said this before, and I say it a million times. You don't get older, they just make more young people.
The best line of the week that was to do with that was from Evelyn, where Alina's talking about having Hope and Ruby round, and Evelyn says, "Oh, it must be nice for you having other children round to play."
That was brilliant. That was the sort of zinger I wanted from Evelyn. That was perfect.
Just the way that she delivers it as well, the patronising tone of voice. I don't think Alina picked up on it as well, which is even better.
Poor Alina.
So, Fizz on Thursday episode on the second one, she goes into the cafe, but then comes out pretty quickly because Tyrone and Alina are in there.
Still want to be around her.
And they end up meeting up at the bistro anyway, because Tyrone's going there with Alina. Fizz is there. She's meeting up with Maria, which was really nice having those two together.
I really like this friendship that has been forged between Fizz and Maria, which I know they were friends before.
Yeah, they've been friends for like 20 years, but
it didn't really feel like they had been. But now they're totally bonding over how much they hate Tyrone, and it's so petty. I love it.
I really would like them to chuck Toya into the mix as well. She could have been in this scene, couldn't she?
I know, but she wasn't. Both of these are girlfriends
of Tyrone. Yeah, that's true.
Toya was never.
No, well, not for want of trying on Tyrone's part. We saw on an episode just last week that we were watching that he was trying to proposition Toya in the cabin, wasn't he? When he was like 15 years old. Anyway, so Tyrone is stuck on a table with Alina and Emma later, and both of them are talking about Billie Eilish, who I'm just about as clueless about as Tyrone was.
You've even spelled it wrong.
Have I?
I.e. not
okay. The girls were talking about, what pronouns does she identify with? And they start looking on Google, and Tyrone's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm feeling out of my depth here. What have I got myself into? And the look that Fizz gives is just perfect. She's just kind of, she's pitying him, isn't she? But without any sympathy, just
like you would do a beetle who'd fallen upside down, like, oh.
It was brilliant. And
actually, no, I would feel sorry.
I'd feel sorry for
I think I'd turn it back over.
Yeah.
I don't think Fizz was going to help Tyrone out.
She was just watching on, entertained at this mess that her fella's got herself into.
Because it was his own making.
Exactly. That's the thing. Tyrone comes over to Maria and Fizz a bit later and tries to offer a bit of an olive branch, but Fizz is like, nah, you're all right. And then just makes fun of this velvety top, this velour top that he's wearing, and he ends up hobbling back to his chair, which again she's just like sniggering about because he can't walk properly because these skinny jeans are too tight. Fizz and Maria just spend the rest of the episode getting sozzled and giggly together.
There is nothing more haunting and frightening and scary to a man than the laughter of his ex-girlfriend and her friends in a bar.
And then to make matters worse for him, he can't actually bend over at the end of the episode when Alina drops the contents of a makeup bag over the floor. He's just there. He's really, really trying to, and he's trying to bend down without making a show of himself and trying to make it look like he can bend down. I think he's scared
that he's going to rip his bum open.
Yeah. And Fizz and Maria, that's brilliant, fantastic. We also in that episode.
This was such petty revenge.
It really, really was, and I'm sure that everybody on Team Tyrone was saying, "Look how horrible they are." They were.
This really justifies the position that many people have taken that Tyrone has always been a henpecked and abused boyfriend of an evil harpy.
I honestly believe it's of his own making, and it was funny. It was funny. I'm
funny.
I'm sure it'll swing around the other way next week, and we'll feel sympathy for Tyrone again. But I had none for this week.
Maybe I think we're going to feel sorry for him when he falls off his motorbike.
I think there's a motorbike accident imminent here because Curtis, Emma's bloke, who appeared again this week. I thought they were going to go down somewhere with the Emma and Curtis storyline, but it really stalled, didn't it? Like an old broken motorbike. But anyway, he was only in there so he could sell this clapped out old bike to Kevin on Sunday's episode.
A classic motorbike that needs a bit of love.
Tyrone Kevin's bought it so that and Alina's going to pay for it, but basically Tyrone gets a new motorbike.
Basically, what happens is she buys it for him as a Father's Day present, which I think is really creepy and a bit inappropriate. And Kevin
do you think she calls him Daddy in bed?
I don't want to know. Kevin's bought this, but Alina knew that Tyrone really wanted it, so she convinced him to sell it to her instead. So now he's gazumped. He's got gazumped.
Yeah.
But he's not that bothered.
This is a total midlife crisis buy, isn't it? So he's got his new clothes, he's got his motorbike.
But this is I'm
looking forward to seeing Phil up on this motorbike looking like an utter plonker.
This kind of just demonstrates how young and... I'm not going to say naive because I don't think there's anything wrong with being a bit frivolous in your youth, but she spent her flat deposit money on buying this motorbike, and Tyrone saying, I could never afford this bike, and she's like, we can together, we don't need to, we can just spend our money on this, it's much more fun. Like, okay, for when you're 20 whatever, you can have fun and buy a motorbike and not worry about your flat deposit. That's okay, but not when you're in your very late 30s like Tyrone is. You need to be worrying about what you're this is the time when you're going, I forgot to get a pension. Not going, who needs a flat deposit?
I feel bad for Emma as well because she doesn't like sharing the flat with Alina and Tyrone, and now it looks like they're going to be there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I like I said before, I think when you're young you enjoy yourself and do what you like, but Tyrone isn't, and he's got children as well.
Exactly.
So what's that about?
Exactly. And also it brought to mind Fizz's moped that she used to have for me as well. So she got there first by a good
cooler,
20 years or so.
Mopeds are safer, surely.
Yeah. Anyway, that was kind of it for this story. It's just funny. It was hilarious, and I'm sorry for everybody on Team Tyrone who probably hated it this week.
Curtis also was very dark this week. I just felt he made it is kind of. I felt like it was some kind of unspoken horrible story about his dad, and where his dad is.
I didn't pick up on it.
Did he insinuate he died or he had run off? I can't.
I don't know.
Didn't really pick up on it. But when he was trying to sell this motorbike to Kevin and Tyrone, he just was looking really miserable and serious. It was very weird.
Maybe.
I don't know what his deal is. I think he's something up with him.
Curtis's dark secret. Well, you know, Emma has also got tragic father past, hasn't she?
Tragic father past?
Just, join the Dead Dad Club, Curtis.
The Dead Dad Society?
Yeah. The numbers are booming.
Yeah.
Right.
It can only ever go up, really.
Bit of a cock-up, Gemma, at the Winter household. What's been going on there?
Now, we had a bit of a return of Mystic Bernie, didn't we? Because on Monday, she tells Gemma that she's read her tea leaves and everything will be fine because she saw a 4-leaf clover in them.
As if they have loose-leaf tea at the Winter Brown household.
I love Bernie's Mystic's mad crystal
No, I think
side.
it's silly.
I don't care. People are like this. There are people who are like this, and I think it's great. The more different types of people in the world, the better for everybody. That's what I say.
They just don't. If they're going to go full on it, like they have with Nina and her goth then fine. But if it's just the odd weird thing,
she's a hippie.
Comment that she makes every 3 months when her wife remembers that's what she is supposed to be.
All right, Mr. Grouch. The consultant says we'll do the implants, and Chesney says yeah, we'll definitely want them, and Gemma says no, we definitely don't.
That basically describes the story for the week, doesn't it?
Yeah. The doctor says it's not going to cure the deafness, but there are lots of benefits. It could help his speech, etc. And Gemma says, what about the risks, like his brain leaking out of his nose? Which sounds like a more serious thing to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back at home...
I haven't looked into what a cochlear implant... They talked about drilling into his skull or something, didn't they? I mean, it's no wonder that Gemma is concerned about it, because it sounds like it's not a minor operation.
No, I know. I thought this was really good, because I think when it's the dispassionate choice, like we're watching this now and we're thinking, well, yeah, get the implant. It's obviously better. But when it's your child and you don't know whether it's going to work or not, and what the percentage is, I don't know what the percentage is.
No, I don't know.
Of course, you'd be way more worried about it. Anyway, Chesney's really raring to go, and Gemma's very hesitant. She's worrying about what's gonna go wrong, and Chesney's like, no, don't make this about you and about what you're worried about. What about him? What about it's Aled, isn't it? Yeah. What about Aled? And we need to give him the best chance that we can. So,
do you want to know what a cochlear implant is? I've just been doing a bit of Googling. It says, it is a small, complex electronic device that can help to provide a sense of sound to a person who is profoundly deaf or severely hard of hearing. The implant consists of an external portion that sits behind the ear. So I was showing you a little picture here. There's a little electronic device that sits above behind the ear.
And what's the source, Michael?
nidcd.nih.gov. And there's a bit that goes underneath the skin as well. So the implant has got a microphone, a speech processor, transmitter and a receiver, an electrode array. It seems, there's a photo
it's a visible device that attaches to your skull, and there's a cable that goes to like a hearing aid that's behind your ear. So it is a visible...
Yeah, it's not like a little discreet... thing that tucks behind the ear.
It's a very visible,
piece of equipment, apparatus.
Makes you look like you're in Cyberpunk. So that's cool. So anyway, they're worried about... Chesney talks to Fizz and Evelyn about it in the shop, and Fizz says, oh, maybe you can speak to somebody who's in a similar situation as Aled. Who do we know who might be able to help?
One deaf person. It's Freda.
Ches has invited Freda around, and I like this because she brought up what I was saying last week about deaf culture, and she says, look, do your research before you make your decision.
But she kind of says, just because I'm deaf, I can't decide for you. You need to decide for yourself.
But she also says being deaf isn't a tragedy.
Yeah, she gives a copy of Can Bears Ski?
And she says they can.
Apparently
I don't
they can.
think
Deaf
they
bears,
can.
hearing bears, they can all ski.
I've never seen a bear skiing.
No.
Later, Chesney talks to Paul about what Freda says. But he says that they should still have the operation, and so the argument continues. So on Thursday, Gemma's still in the quandary. Chesney talks to Fizz about it again, and she says you just need to communicate and listen to each other. So he comes back, and it turns out he's missed the sign language class, and Gemma's not very happy about
There
this.
seems to be a running trend of him missing the sign language classes.
And Gemma's just getting better and better at
Yeah, it's been cool seeing Gemma doing signing.
And Dolly
this
Rose
week, and
Campbell's
Gemma's
had to learn all of the signs plus her lines, so she's doing a really great job here. He says I've reorganised some shifts so I can be around for the weekend, and Gemma says good because I've made plans with me mum and Paul, so tough.
Makes me wonder if they carry on going down this route, are they going to have them signing a lot, and when Aled grows up, will they be signing? And if that's the case, will they have subtitles? Will they have them signing and also talking at the same time?
I
Or
think
will
they
one of
would
them
talk and
will it
sign.
be, like a Sooty and Sweet thing where Gemma signs and Gemma says, and Chesney says, "What's that, Gemma? You want to know if Aled wants fish and chips for his tea?"
Well, Freda does a really good job of talking and signing at the same time, so I think that's what they would do. I don't know if they're going to continue this, but I really like it. Like I said, I've wanted to learn to sign for a long time, but I thought you could get lessons for free, but you can't. You have to pay for them. I thought it'd be easy to sort of find like a YouTube channel or something.
No wonder Gemma's miffed that Chesney's missing out on them.
Yeah. So, Joseph's there making a card. And Gemma works out that he's making a card for Chesney, and she gets really miffed off because she's forgotten it's Father's Day on Sunday. She's just like, "Oh right, yeah, great. Make a card for Chesney. He deserves a card. I don't deserve a card, etc., etc." So that was kind of funny.
What are you looking up on your iPad?
I'm just trying to find something, Michael.
Okay.
On Friday, she's forgot. It's not Friday. It's Sunday. She's forgotten it's Father's Day, and a parcel. He's like, "Don't worry, Gemma. I don't mind. I just want to spend the weekend with the kids." And then a parcel comes through the letterbox, and he goes, "Oh, you did remember! Hooray!" And then he picks it up, and it's actually a box of magnetic eyelashes.
Which is what Alina really should have used on Hope last week.
I don't think you should use magnets on children.
Better than super glue, surely.
Hope would eat them, she would, and then she'd end up in hospital because if you eat magnets, you die.
Oh, God. Oh yeah, you do, don't you? They're not very good.
Not very delicious.
No.
Gemma, Bernie and Paul are still talking implants. Paul's on the side. Bernie's on the side of giving him the operation, and Paul's on the side of no. And I never really get why he was, other than story purposes. Like, I don't know what it is about Paul's personality.
That's basically it, isn't it?
It was just to say
we need to have an even number of people on each side, basically.
Then Paul is around with Gemma, and they're talking about the fact that Chesney doesn't complain about being a dad and changes nappies. And Paul says, you need to remember what a great guy Chesney is. And the bar is so low for fathers that apparently not complaining about it and doing it is enough to make him in the upper echelons of world champion fathers. Yeah, he changes the kids' nappies. Yeah, he takes them out for ice cream. Good, yeah, brilliant, but he doesn't get a medal for it because she don't get a medal for it, does she? All the way through the week, she's getting fed up with being taken for granted, and then Paul literally sits there and tells her, yeah, you are being taken for granted because you should be grateful that he's actually pulling his weight. And Gemma doesn't reply with, what the hell are you talking about? It was his choice just as much as mine, and actually Joseph is his kid. So, yeah, he's got 5 kids, I only actually have 4.
In the end, Chesney gets serenaded with sign language. He's such a great dad.
I found this really obnoxious because I'm sure there are plenty of dads who would agree with me that doing their half of the child rearing is the bare minimum.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So anyway, yeah, as you say, they do a signed Father's Day message to Chesney and he can understand them. And then Gemma says, you're right, let's get an implant put in.
Do you have any strong feelings one way or the other about whether Aled should get his implant? I don't know whether I'm particularly bothered. That's the only thing. I don't really... Whether he gets it one way or not, as a viewer, I don't think I really mind. I don't think it's going to make a difference to the way the stories are going to play out. And if it does, it's going to be many years down the road. If I was in their position, I don't know what I would say either. I think I would... think I'd probably be on the side of going for it and thinking about the opportunities that he would get just from almost kind of being able to hear.
I haven't heard anything to say what it is that would be negative. Like, is there something about that?
Well, the leaky brain, isn't it?
Apart from the possibility of it going wrong, is there something about them getting this done that is
wasn't it about, not turning your back on deaf culture, but taking away, I don't know, the way God made him, or however you want to look at it, but wasn't that part of it?
I'm just looking this up because I'm pretty sure that I watched a documentary about this, and I can't find it if this is the one, but there is one called Sound and Fury, which is a 2000 American documentary about two, it's an American families who have children who are deaf, and they're trying to decide whether or not to get these cochlear implants or not. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting because, like I said before, the possibility is that you don't become part of deaf culture, which is something that you could, abandoning deaf culture, and there's actually quite a rich world of.
Yeah.
Is it going to impede your chances of becoming part of that? Are you going to end up basically not being deaf enough to be part of deaf culture, but not being hearing enough to be a hearing person? Yeah. So is that? I think the negative aspects of this haven't been articulated beyond Gemma's worrying.
Well, this is Gemma would be trying to articulate them, to be fair, which is probably why it's quite not done. I can talk. I can barely string a sentence together at the moment, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I had, like I said earlier, I have appreciated that this story has given an opportunity for Gemma to show a bit more of a sensible side. She's not like, eating with her mouth open or anything this week.
I really think that if you're interested in this, you guys should look up some deaf culture documentaries and movies, just to, because I don't think that I've really articulated very well what deaf culture is, but it really is a world that
it's a thing, isn't it?
And I just have this really vivid memory of watching this documentary, and there were two deaf people that were having an argument with each other, and it was brilliant because when they got annoyed, so they were signing furiously in each other's faces, and then one of them would just turn around. And I thought, you can't do that when you're a hearing person. You can't not listen to what the other person says. But when you're deaf, you can just go, nope, not even going to look at you. And then the other person was grabbing them and trying to turn them around and trying to sign to them to get them to understand what they were trying to say. I just thought it was just that very simple scene of those two people, and something that I'd never really even thought about.
I think I remember you telling me about that before.
It really, really struck me, because that was the sort of thing I do.
The only thing that's really struck me with this week is when we got to see Aled, and it's like, you're not a baby anymore.
On Monday,
it's been a year since we've seen you, and you're walking around and everything.
It was Monday's episode, and that was the first time I really missed not being able to live tweet, because I wanted to go, oh my god, everybody, look at Aled, he's all grown up.
We only got to see a quarter of the quads, didn't we? But yeah, that was quite cute.
It was really sweet because these quads really have just been in theory for the whole time.
For the whole of lockdown.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder whether have they cast a deaf child to play Aled now. I mean, it may well not be the same kid that's playing him now that was, baby in the cradle 12 months ago. And it would seem like probably quite a sensible thing to do, to cast somebody who is, also got a similar impairment as Aled in the past.
It would be the sensitive thing and the sort of the modern approach to casting to do that, wouldn't it? To cast a child, so
they say, we can cast your child, but you've got to get him a cochlear implant. He's not allowed to have one at the moment, but he's got to have one at some point. I don't know whether that's a little bit going too far. But yeah, so that was cool. It was nice seeing Freda. Strange that there was no mention of Norris. The last time we saw them, I
think it would be too complicated and add some unnecessary.
It was just a bit sucky that she was only in one scene. Maybe if Ken had been here and not still doing cartwheels in Southampton, maybe they could have had a bit of a moment together, like, how's it going in Still Waters? How's Norris? You married yet? That kind of thing.
I understand why you're saying this, but I just think that it would have thrown off the pacing of the week, and although I would have liked to have seen it too, I just think that it might not necessarily have been what we particularly needed out of...
I don't know.
Well,
Anyway, it's lovely that she's a character that... She's been, you know, how long has she been in the show now? 10 years? 10 plus years maybe? Just having her back and forth every now and again. And the fact that even over 5 years since Emily's left, the fact that we're still seeing Freda is quite nice, isn't it? Finally...
Can I just say, if you want to find out a bit more about what it's like to be deaf in this country, there's a lady that's got a really good YouTube channel. She's called Jessica Kellgren Fozard, and
how are people supposed to search for that?
What do you
It'll
mean?
autocomplete.
Jessica Kellgren Fozard.
All right, I can.
I'm sure you can bloody work it out, Michael. Why are you being annoying? She's got an entire what's it called, playlist about her deafness and wearing hearing aids and talking about her, like, for example, her struggles when we had COVID and people wearing face masks, so it's difficult, she can't read lips, and so she's talking about sign language, and she doesn't sound deaf at all. There's even a video where she explains why she's got a very beautiful proper English accent. But look her up, and also I'm pretty sure that the movie that I mentioned earlier is a pretty good watch.
Right, final story then. That's all right. We've got the Winter into Devindra story, which is basically the falling out and then making up again. Because the last thing that we saw of this was Dev bad-mouthing Bernie to Steve and the Rovers last week. Yeah, Mary overhearing. So Dev's kind of brushes off Bernie at the beginning of the week, where she's asking to go out with him. He's like, no, it's all right. And Ardy says to him, look, they're not exactly knocking your door down at the moment, are they, Dad? I think you should get in there while you got the chance. So he says, oh yeah, Bernie, yeah, fine, let's go to the bistro later. Mary, however, gets in there first and tells her exactly what she overheard in the Rovers last week. So when the pair of them turn up at the bistro together, Dev knows that he's in trouble. He gets a glass of wine knocked over him courtesy of Bernie, and she tells him exactly what she knows, strops off, and that's the end of that. Dev then goes to have a go at Mary, who gives a quite nice little speech, a little bit of a sunflower analogy about how she's also been on the receiving end of plenty of cruel remarks over the years, and it's not pleasant, and you need to appreciate people for who they are actually, Dev. So he goes and brings Bernie a bunch of sunflowers basically at the end of the episode and says, I hope we can be friends. Bernie has a nice smile, she's pretty chuffed with the flowers, and it's kind of left there basically.
Well, she says I've got plenty of friends, but what I would like is a pay rise.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
she
he
gets
agrees
a pay
and
rise
gives her... I don't know whether they're dating or not.
I think at the moment they are friends, but with the definite
benefits?
potential of
I think Bernie seems like
a few weeks down the road.
A friends with benefits kind of a girl. Don't you think? Like, I don't want to complicate my life, baby.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Anyway, that was all quite sweet, but nothing more to particularly say about that. We didn't say last week.
I really need Dev and Bernie at Halloween to get the Ouija board out.
What? Why?
Because Bernie is very mystical and a woo-woo chick, and Dev is easily spooked.
Oh yeah,
because of the Black Ball Butcher. I want to see Bernie and Dev and Kirk. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's pushing it too far. And other assorted people doing a séance in the old snooker hall to try to make contact with the Black Ball Butcher.
Right.
Because why does everything have to be serious all the time?
Nothing is serious with that. Okay, we have done it. I think we're pretty much at the end of our Corrie journey for this week. We do still have some news and feedback to do, but I think we're going to record that tomorrow. But before we go for today, we need to give our scores on our character of the week. Well, straight away, no question about it. My character of the week is Nina. She was fantastic. Yeah. I loved seeing her, hit the bottle. I loved drunk Nina. It was tragic and seeing, how she was spiralling downwards, but she made a very good and entertaining tragic drunk.
Also, the performance when she was screaming at Corrie, I just thought that was fantastically done.
Absolutely.
And the lurking at the hotel, like, I've not seen better lurking since The Grudge and The Ring.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
She was so good in everything this week. So very easy character of the week for Nina.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Score-wise,
Nina's for me too.
As I said, when we were getting through Monday and Thursday's episode, I thought this was quite a good week actually. Sunday kind of let it down a little bit, but maybe I just had too high expectations. But I think for what we got beforehand, I'm happy enough to give it 3.5 leaky brains out of 5.
I just have this really vivid image of, because you've been doing mummies talking about how they hook the brain out through the nose.
Yeah.
That's really vividly stuck in my head now. I'm going to give it 4.
Ooh, 4 this week.
4 dead-headed chrysanths. Because we don't just slag the show off, we also kind of like it sometimes. So I thought it was a really good week. I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of getting used to binging it.
After only 1 week.
Don't know if it's my preferred method of consuming it.
I couldn't do this. It's now, what's it? I got home from school at about 4:30 today. It's now 20 to midnight. And we've been doing almost nothing but Corrie. I need a bit of a break from it. And I'm a bit sad now that we have got to go a whole week. I don't even know what the schedule is next week, actually. Is there one on Monday next week? I honestly don't know. I'm assuming so, but we might be later on in the week.
They always upload it on a Monday. I don't know what they're going to do.
Oh, yeah, of course it will be. Yeah, that would make sense, of course. So a long time without it. Yeah, I am tired.
Well,
but as I say, we've got some classic Coronation Streets to watch. If you go back to 1999, we were just about to see Sharon Bentley getting married to Ian, or almost getting married to Ian. That's where we're up to.
That's where the trouble started.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Whenever you are listening to it, are you listening to it midweek, or is it Sunday and you've been waiting for this podcast to come out? I don't know. I hope it was worth the wait if you have put this one on ice until the weekend.